Hello, welcome to Math 195. So today we're going to talk about Chapter 1 Arithmetic Essentials. So in Chapter 1.1, we will talk about how to add, subtract, and multiply, divide integers. So when it comes to integer, if they have the same number, if the same sign, we just need to add the number and keep the sign. So for example, for the first one, we want to add 5 plus a, so it just 5 plus a equals to 13. And now again, this is negative 7 at negative 2. They both are negative, so we keep the same sign and add the number together. So 7 plus 2 equals to 9, and then we keep the negative sign, so we have a negative 9. So when it comes to the different sign, we subtract the number and keep the sign of the larger value. So what's that mean? So for example, number C, we have a 12 and a 14. One is positive, the other is negative. So we use the greater value, subtract the smaller value, which in this case, we use 12, subtract 4, we got 8. And then we keep the sign of the larger value, which is the larger value is 12, and the sign of 12 is negative. So we have negative 8. So similar in here, we have 9 and 13. And then again, we want to subtract the numbers. We use the bigger one, subtract the smaller one. So the bigger one would be 13. And then we subtract 9, we got 4, and then we keep the sign of the larger value, which is negative 4. Okay, so subtracting integers. For subtracting with the negative integer, we will write the expression as adding by changing the subtraction sign to an addition sign and rewrite the number after the subtracting sign as the opposite. Then simplify using the method of adding integers. So the method is often referred to as adding the opposite. So for example, in here, instead of 6 minus 12, we can write it as 6 plus negative 12, and then we use the same method that we used earlier. So now they have two different signs. We use the bigger number, subtract the smaller value, which is 6. We use 12, subtract 6, we got 6. And then we keep the sign of the larger value, which is negative. So we got negative 6. In here, you can consider that as 7 at negative 1. Again, they have a different sign. We try to subtract it with a bigger value to the smaller value. We have 6. And then we keep the sign of a larger value, which is positive sign. So we have positive 6. So in here, you can consider that as negative 12 at negative 10. Well, if they are the same sign, that means we're going to keep the sign negative, and then we just need to add these two numbers together, like what we did earlier for the example B. So now we have 12 at 10, we have a 22. So in here, well, this is a little bit complicated because how can we add these? They have a negative sign. How can we turn this become positive? So we can do 17 at negative and then negative 13. Well, negative, that gives you a positive. So now we have 17 at 13, which is 30. Okay, what about multiply? To multiply two integers, we multiply as usual and following the property. So if the two numbers have the sign that are the same, both integers are positive or they're both negative, then the product is positive. If the two numbers have opposite sign, which means one is positive, the other is negative, then the product is negative. So now, for dividing with integer, we follow the same property as multiplication. So now look, these two, 13 times 3, they have positive sign, so when they multiply together, we should get a positive number, 39. And then multiply negative 1 and negative 7. So they both have a negative sign. So that means their product should be a positive. So with 7 times 1, which is 7. And then here, negative 8 times 5. One is positive, the other is negative. So their product should be a negative number. And then 5 times 8 equals to 40. And here it's the same, one negative, one positive. You should get a negative sign. 16 times 4, we have 64. Okay. Now next, for the division, it's the same. So when it comes to division, we have 9 is divided by 63, and since they're both positive, so your answer, so your answer should be also a positive number, which is 8. Oh, I'm sorry, 7. Haha, I got this wrong. Sorry about that. And now we have a fraction. Remember, fraction basically is division. We have negative 12 divided by negative 3. So we got what? A positive number, right? Because they're both negative. We follow the property, the division or multiplication property. So we know that this is going to be a positive number, and then we use 12 divided by 3. We have 4. And then here, 33 divided by negative 3. So one positive and one negative. We got a negative number. And then 13.3 divided by 3, we have 11. So the answer would be negative 11. Okay, so this one is negative 40 divided by 8. One positive number, one negative number. The signs are different, so that means you're going to get a negative solution. 40 divided by 8, we have 5. So your answer is negative 5. So that's it for this section. Let me know if you have other questions.